Recently, Nintendo released a lot of information about their upcoming new console, the Nintendo Switch, and I figured I'd hop on the bandwagon that every YouTuber and their mom is on and talk about the Switch for a little bit and my thoughts on it. And after that conference was all over, the hardware looks great, it's unbelievable how good Breath of the Wild looks, and that conference was a blast to watch. I ran my phone up to my TV and I had my laptop on my lap and I was talking to a friend over Facebook, and it was just great. We were watching this pretty much side by side over the internet, but it was just really fun and it had a lot of great energy for two Nintendo fans like us. However, even though my thoughts are mostly positive, I have some doubts. Not about the hardware, I think it looks great and I'm really excited to see this extremely powerful handheld console. I've always been so much more into handheld gaming than I have been into home consoles, but I think that Nintendo themselves isn't handling this well as far as the marketing goes and as far as the games themselves go. So first off, let's tackle this marketing. And let me just preface by saying that I love my Wii U. It's a great system that's highly underappreciated, and it has some fantastic games. But one of its biggest failures was its marketing. It was a mess. When announced, it was very unclear that this was a brand new system and not just an add-on for the Wii. I knew that the Switch was going to fail if they didn't do a good job at telling everybody that this was its own standalone console. And they did that pretty well. However, they had to add a few gimmicks. No one wanted HD Rumble, even though I'm genuinely excited for it and I think it looks kind of cool. It was just something that nobody asked for. Likewise, nobody wanted more motion controls. It's this innovation for innovation's sake that really sunk the Wii U among many, many other things. And adding all of this technology is not cheap. A replacement Joy-Con is $50. $80 if you want both. And on top of that, if you want the Pro controller, that's an additional $70. That's so much more expensive than an Xbox One controller or a PS4 controller. The cost of adding these minor features is just not worth it. Other than 1-2 Switch, they didn't really show off a single other game that made use of it. But ask yourself, how long is it going to be that this is just going to be one of those features that nobody uses anymore? Similar to the AR cards with the 3DS or the touchpad, which just became the select button on the PS4 controller. It's these gimmicky add-ons that are just not going to help Nintendo in the end. Do you really see a developer like Monolith Games say, oh great, we have an IR sensor, better add in a rock paper scissors minigame into Xenoblade 2? It's just not happening. And that's a shame. It really is. Not specifically about the minigame, but it's just a shame that there are all these features that just won't be utilized after a few months to a year. I'm actually kind of excited to see what Nintendo will do with some of these features, but to a casual gamer who just wants to play straightforward games, this has no appeal. And in all honesty, if I could choose these features not being there and the Joy-Cons being $20 cheaper, I would choose that. Now secondly, let's talk about the games. First off, the most important one is launching with Breath of the Wild, which is honestly really the only enticing thing to me. Probably get Super Bomberman R because I've never really played a real Bomberman game, and I feel like now's the time. And first off, good on you, Konami. You made a game. It launches with Breath of the Wild, 1-2 Switch, Bomberman, Just Dance 2017, and I think what gives me the worst feeling in my stomach is Skylanders Imaginators. I can't really say anything about Skylanders itself. What I don't like is that this game is old. Not like crazy old, but old enough to the point where anyone who wants to play a game like Skylanders has already enjoyed it on the 5 other consoles that you can already get it on. And this just kind of screams how desperate Nintendo is right now. I'm sure what happened was they went around to developers, asked them to make games for it, and the best the developers could do after being so burnt from the Wii U is just give them a test. If these test games sold, then they would support the Switch. But just listen to this. Most of the games that they released are all ports of old games. We've had most of these games for years. Disgaea 5, Skyrim, Dragon Ball Z Universe 2, Steep, Minecraft, Just Dance 2017. This does not bode well. These games will not sell, and developers will not continue to support the Switch. And if by some miracle... And if by some miracle things like Tuna and the other games I just mentioned do sell well, and developers decide to support the Switch, it will be years until we see that these exclusives made for the Switch made by these third parties. And by then, the Switch could very well be dead. And once again, I love the Switch, I'm so excited for it, and I really hope that all this speculation is completely wrong. The Switch itself looks ready to go, however the games just aren't there yet. Breath of the Wild, while a huge IP for Nintendo, is not going to sell games like Mario will. Nintendo just waits until November or December or whenever to release it alongside with Mario. I think that the mass reactions to the system would be much more positive. I'm saying that the Switch will crash and burn. I'm saying more like, if anything, we're going to have a very, very slow start. I would actually recommend not picking up a Switch until maybe late 2017. Until games like Xenoblade 2, Mario, like Octopath Traveler, not until games like that are out. It's really not a good sign when I can just leisurely walk into a store kind of late in the afternoon and no problem pre-order my Nintendo Switch. Usually these things are long gone. I was one of the first people there to pre-order it. And while I do prefer it this way, especially over the Wii's launch where it was impossible to find it for a really long time, it just spells out a little more concern for me. Even though I'm saying that this launch will not be strong and the console won't be strong later, that's exactly what happened to the 3DS. The 3DS tanked hard when it came out. It was overpriced, there were no good games for it. But Nintendo stuck with it, and it's actually my favorite system of all time. I hope that the Nintendo Switch succeeds. I hope it sells well. Third parties hop on and decide to make games for it. I would love to be able to play like the next Call of Duty on the go on my Switch, but unfortunately I just don't see that happening. The only thing that's going to appeal to a wide audience other than like Mario is that EA said that they would support it with FIFA. Even that is not huge. My other thoughts and hopes for the Switch. Paid online is no problem at all, but they need to define their online. Right now, it sounds like you have to download an app on your phone and download an app on your phone to use for simple things like voice chat. If these things aren't streamlined and built into the console, then what are we paying for? I know it'll be free for little, so hopefully by the time we're paying for it monthly, they'll have this all figured out. And while Reggie Fils-Aimé actually came out and said that they did this so when you're on the go, you can use your phone to voice chat, so you don't have to carry your huge gaming headset, that's great and all, but at the same time, when you're home, you should be able to have voice chat and standard things like that on the console itself. There's no reason that that shouldn't be there. Secondly, I hope that there's a great virtual console and online store. I would love to be able to play the NES, Game Boy, GameCube, heck, anything on the go. The portability is the most enticing thing to me, and I would love to have more retro games than what's available currently on the 3DS. I'm very happy that the Switch is region-free. There were many 3DS games that I wanted to import, but I really didn't want to pay for a Japanese 3DS. So overall, I love the Switch hardware. I'm a little concerned for its launch and launch window, but I really hope that it holds on strong until the games come. Here with the Switch is very enticing to me as a Nintendo fan, but its capabilities to recapture the attention of a wider audience. Some of the reactions that I've heard from coworkers or people that I know has been positive, but a lot of people have the same problems with the gimmicky things like HD Rumble. Like I said, I already have my Switch pre-ordered, and I cannot wait for it to come out so I can play some great games on the go. Those are most of my thoughts. I would like to make another video saying a little bit about individual games, because things like Splatoon 2. Watching, and I'll see you guys next time.